6 months ago, almost 6 months ago, May 7th, I shaved my head due to getting a second type of hair loss. And I've had female pattern baldness for 24 years, and I didn't need to shave my head prior to that point. But I did due to getting a second hair loss that was really overtaking my mind and my ability to kind of live my life the way I had the previous decade when I figured out how to make hair loss work in my life, wearing wigs, cutting my hair short, doing my PRP every 4 to 5 months, which I felt helped me to maintain as much of my own hair as possible. And that all changed. So just real quick, this is the shave. I will be putting my wig back on, but this is the shave I currently have. And a lot of what people don't understand is that they see hair, they sort of like, you have follicles, that should be enough to grow out. And if it was enough to grow out, I guarantee I wouldn't have shaved it. When you shave your head, it helps it to look, the loss pattern to look even, and it helps it to look more. Also, when you cut your hair, let's say you have hair down to here and you give yourself a short haircut, it helps it to look thicker. If you go from here to here, it helps it to even look more thicker. Like, it helps to disguise the loss. So this is a bit extreme having to go to this point, but this is what I needed to do. So I'm gonna get my hair back on and be right back. Despite the fact I have already been wearing wigs for 11 years, and I had wigs, although I had to switch to a different type of wig last year, because as my hairline thinned to the point of no longer be able to blend my wigs, which were closed front wigs, which is just a wig with no lace and you blend your hairline in, I could no longer really wear those wigs without it looking very unnatural. I started wearing lace front wigs, and I'm still adjusting to that. But I don't want to make this about wigs or lace front wigs or whatever, but I want to talk about the shave, because the shave was by far the most difficult thing for me to do in my hair loss life. I literally had all the reasons I had to keep my hair, so like not to shave it, basically were taken away from me. Because over the years, I always kind of wanted to shave my head. Like, that would be the ultimate, getting past all of it to me in my brain is like, you shave your head, but I could never do it. And I had reasons to not shave. I blended my wigs. I needed my hairline. I used my bio hair to go out. I don't wear my wigs 24/7. So I use my bio hair to go to the gym or to the mailbox, or when I don't feel like wearing a wig. I was not great hair, but it was good enough to where people knew me both ways. They knew me with wigs and they knew me with my short hair, and that's just how it was. Although I haven't been able to make a ponytail since 2012, I used to use this little clip on the top of my head so I could have a tactile feeling of pulling my hair together, and it just felt nice to have that. It's those little things that kind of help to make us feel normal. So I had the clip, I had the blending of my wigs, and wearing my bio hair to when I went out. Literally every one of those things was taken away. I could no longer blend my wigs. I would no longer even look at myself in the mirror in my own house without something on my head. I would brush my teeth in a beanie because I could no longer look at the pattern of loss. It was creature-ish. It looked like someone carved out the sides. My head just looked misshapen. It was traumatizing what was going on, because like I said, this wasn't female pattern baldness. This wasn't how I lived the last over 2 decades of my life. But with everything being taken away, and that little clip, by the way, I couldn't use that little clip on my head anymore because the density was so low. There wasn't enough hair to actually put in the clip. So I couldn't use the clip. So everything was gone. If there was ever a person that had a reason to go ahead and shave their head, it was me, and I still couldn't do it. And I sat for months just kind of paralyzed, and also kind of getting down on myself for not being able to make this action. I had lace front wigs already there. It's not my most comfortable way to wear a wig. It's new for me. But even so, I still had wigs. I still had a couple of lace front wigs I could wear. Doesn't matter. It wasn't about the wig. And for a short time, I was diluting myself into thinking, well, if I just got the perfect lace front wig, then I would be able to shave my head. But I came to realize very shortly before I actually shaved my head, I had posted on Instagram, that I was just lying to myself. I was lying to myself thinking that if I got this thing, then that would make me do this thing. There was no wig that was going to propel me to shave my head. That was something I had to do, irrespective of that. And a day or two later, after I shared that on Instagram, I actually had gone to my friend and wig stylist's house to look at a wig and brought my clippers, and I was still on the fence, but I knew I wanted to do it, but I knew I couldn't do it myself. And I asked her, do you think I should shave my head? And she was like, 10,000%, like, you need this. Like, after she was sure that I was sure, she's like, you really need this. I can see that it's, killing you. So then my mind was set and we did it. And I didn't cry in this process. And I felt relieved when it was over. But it's an adjustment seeing yourself with a shaved head. And I don't love how I look in a shaved head. And I think these things are important to understand, that the shaving of my head was done for the survival of my mind, for my mental health, to be able to function in this world, to not be, curled up in a ball, unable to, move 2 feet in my house because I don't want to pass a mirror, have to have a beanie on my head at all times. It was necessary. And so sometimes people don't understand that. They just see hair and they're like, well, you have hair, that should be fine. It looks like you can grow it out. Like, I cannot grow it out. I know what happens when there's length on the strand, not to mention not being able to deal with it falling all over me and pasted in me and all like engulfed in my hands in the shower. It was overwhelming. That's the whole reason why I cut my hair in 2012, so that it could just slide out without me knowing about it. But with this new hair loss, the drop was so dramatic, it didn't matter that it was short. It was just so extreme, it was all over the place. But I have no regrets on shaving my head. It is still the second best thing that I've done in my hair loss life for myself, due to needing to do this. The first being starting to wear wigs in 2012 when I was 34 years old. And this is the second, because I needed to do this to live my life. We have to make the decisions that we have to make to move forward. Do I love it? No. Am I like, oh, I look great this way? No. It's not shocking to see myself that way anymore, but it's just not, I can't explain it. It's not my short haircut I had. It's not me with hair. It's not how I feel comfortable, but it's functional. And I do go to the grocery store and I do go out that way. And I don't mind seeing people with my shaved head, and everybody in my building has seen it. I don't mind doing that, just like with my bio hair. But make no mistake, that is not how I would prefer to live. That is what I have to do to live. And there's a difference. Shaving my head gave me the ability to get back to living. And you don't necessarily have to shave your head. It could be making a change, like getting a haircut, or something like that can actually make a big difference. A lot of people don't want to let go of any length when they're dealing with hair loss, but believe it or not, it's weighing the hair down, and shorter hair just tends to look thicker. These aren't easy things to do. I know I didn't cut my hair for years after it started falling out. I didn't want anybody to touch it. I was so scared. But the longer the strand, the more you see it fall out. It looks like more because it's longer. So a hair this length is going to look like less than a hair that's this length, and that plays on the mind. There's so much psychological aspect that goes into dealing with hair loss and learning to live with hair loss. And I know that my mom asked me like if I would ever be able to get to being back to the way I was, meaning like my female pattern hair loss life with my short haircut, not a shaved head. And the answer to that is, I don't know. I have no desire to try and grow my hair out right now to explore if that's a possibility. It's just not worth it to me. It was so hard to get to this point, and while I don't love it and I would prefer to have my hair grown out into a pixie cut or a short haircut, the risk associated with that, to my mind, is not worth it at this time. And based on what I can see anyways, even with this shave, it's still kind of, with the areas that were blown out, maybe not always visible on camera and I can see it in the mirror, they're still gapped out. So I don't have any faith that anything would be different at this present time. So maybe would it change in 6 months or a year, or something could happen where I'm like seeing some dramatic change? It's possible. And then at that point, maybe I would consider growing it out. But my mental health is more important to me than, exploring having, a short haircut. I made peace a long time ago with having hair loss. I made peace with wearing wigs. I just didn't expect to get a second hair loss and have to change the type of wig and think that I was going to be forced into shaving my head. And those are things that nobody can actually foresee. But I know that I adapted before, and I know that I can adapt again, and I'm still not digging the shaved head. And I do hope that people understand more about women that shave their head for hair loss. It's done for a purpose. It may look like a lot to somebody else. It may look like that should be sufficient to somebody else, but it isn't, because if it was, we wouldn't have shaved our head. It's difficult to be dealing with something and then constantly having your reality questioned or constantly having your reality dismissed. And for me, that happens online. People in my life don't do that. They already know my situation. They don't put my back against the wall or whatever in that type of thing. I'm very open about my hair loss. Nobody's questioning why I'm doing what I'm doing. But online, I get that. Online, I get dismissed. Online, I get, oh, I wish I had that much, when that much to me was a devastating amount that crippled me into being paralyzed and not being able to move forward several months before I shaved my head. The only thing that I wish I did differently in shaving my head was shaving it sooner. Just kind of similar like to wearing wigs. I had wished I had started wearing wigs sooner. I would have started with toppers years before. In this situation, I wish I would have had the strength to shave my head, say, when it really started to take a big toll, where I was really starting to take photos every single night just to torture myself to see the loss was as bad as it was, and it always was. I think we often know what we need to do before we do it. I knew I needed to shave my head. I just couldn't make it happen. But I did not give up on the thought of doing it. Every day I thought about it morning to night because I knew I had to do this to move forward. I've had hair loss for so long, and I've done this journey for so long that I know the quicker that we get to accept, the quicker we can move forward in our life and not be, strangled by hair loss. I was just unable to do the action that I knew I needed to do until I did it. So there's no regrets on that. So that is my almost 6-month shave update. I'm grateful every single day that I was able to do it. I don't know where I would be if I didn't do it, because I was on a very rapid downhill trajectory of spiraling, really bad shape. I'm very grateful every single day that I made that action, even though, again, don't love how it looks. I don't regret it. And I will say, I don't think I've had a better shower in my life since the first shower after my head was shaved. That was probably the best shower of my life since my hair loss began, because there's no hair to fall out. So you don't have to worry about it, and that is incredible. And also, even though I deal with folliculitis, even though I have to deal with folliculitis from shaving my head, which is like a curse, I need to shave my head and my head is sensitive and I get saddled with folliculitis, it's still the best decision that I have made for myself to move forward in this journey. Some things I want to talk about in some future videos that I think are important, that I've talked a lot about on Instagram, but then they're just kind of lost on there. So hair loss treatments, wigs, things like that. If you want to hear more about those topics, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you can get notifications. And if you found this video helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if you found this video helpful, and let me know where you are in your hair loss journey. Would love to hear from you.